Okay, thanks very much, Sinead. My name is Owen Shee, and I'm the Training Program Director for the International Surgical Fellowship Program in the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland. Thanks very much. First of all, this is a big webinar, a lot of information, a lot of questions being asked, which is good. My presentation encompasses pretty much a lot of what's been said earlier on with regard to coming to Ireland, visiting Ireland, onboarding process, and the accreditation processes, etc., that we use in the college. We might load up the slides there if that's okay, Anton. Okay. I have to clear my screen here myself, and we'll try and answer the questions at the end, guys. Okay. So, next slide, please. So, most of you are participants, obviously, the fellow panelists here who have fielded a lot of the questions. And I suppose the question is, why do fellowship training? And fellowship training is important in all specialties, including surgery, to advance the practice and to provide better care to your patients. And not too dissimilar to Ireland, we all have a vision for healthcare, and indeed the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia have written their own vision and have branched that into various disciplines: education, training, funding, structure, etc. And in Ireland, we have our main delivery of healthcare in Ireland is through what's called the Health Service Executive, which would probably be similar to the Ministry of Health in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So we have a vision as well in Ireland. Ireland's a relatively young country, even though we have ancient history, as does Saudi. So we'll move on to the next slide, please. So, fellowship training, specialist skills, high level skills. Surgery is a medical specialty, but it does involve a lot of operating, a lot of competency based techniques, procedures that need to be learned and trained and practiced as we go through our career. In fairness, as a surgeon, I've noted that it's just lifelong learning, and every day is a day to learn something new and something different. But fellowship training gives you that little extra edge. Everyone has done a residency program and has probably practiced as a senior registrar, but you'd like to go on and do fellowship training. It sort of hones your skills. There's a certain level of respect and credibility in it. And you can generally deal with a condition, an organ. I specifically do trauma and orthopedics myself, so we can deal with, let's say, a hip complaint from birth right through to adolescence, right through to adulthood, right through to fractures and all that. So it gives you a more comprehensive understanding of your specialty, and that you can deal with any potential outcome, any potential complication. None of us are perfect, and we do try and train you to the best of our ability. But life is a learning process, and practice, practice, practice certainly helps with any specialty, particularly in surgery. It's a hands-on specialty. So, next slide, please. And it's been proven time and time again in any medical discipline that patients have better outcomes with fellowship trained doctors treating them. Next slide, please. So, why go abroad fellowship? I mean, most of the surgeons in Ireland have travelled abroad to European countries, North American countries, Asian countries, Australia, New Zealand. And it gives you a little extra edge. It gives you a different landscape, a different perspective. It gives you access and gives you ideas with regard to cultural, social differences, as well as healthcare structures and how healthcare is executed in certain different countries and how they plan things. And the good thing about fellowship is you can take away the best and leave the worst, and that you can bring the best back to your own practice when you return home. So going abroad does help. It widens, travel widens the mind as well. Next slide, please. So I've done a fellowship. It is a career defining experience. It does, as they broaden your horizons. It exposes you to different cultures and certainly a different healthcare system. And the most important thing is lifelong relationships. We're all doctors at the end of the day, and it bridges political divides, it bridges cultural divides, and that we all, our primary ambition really is to mind and take care of our patients and give them the best possible opportunity to get on with their lives and get them back, get them moving and cure them and move them and improve them as best we can. But the important thing really is there's a certain sense of cross-pollination. So hence the bee. So people are wondering why there's a bee on the slide. Cross-pollination is important because it certainly breeds a diverse ability and capability in doctors and particularly in surgeons. And it's important to look to different systems and look at different international surgeons and how they practice. And that also breeds connectivity, but it also breeds reciprocity, which means that in time, I'm hoping that the fellows that I've had through the International Surgical Fellowship Program will take my residents and will take our trainees from Ireland to Saudi to teach them new skills that they've learned. And there's a reciprocity associated with education and training, particularly in the surgical discipline. Next slide, please. And it's about connections, connecting people, crossing divides, crossing boundaries, education and culture. Bridge education and culture should bridge any political divides that people may have. Next slide, please. So why Ireland? The previous speakers have alluded to the fact that it's a good country to live in. It does rate high in amongst the English-speaking countries of the world. It's a very successful country. It's a relatively new country, but still, and we've had our difficulties as most countries do. We have our social problems and we have our political problems. Everyone does to some extent, but by and large, it is a much safer country than a lot of other countries, even within Europe, and certainly looking across the sea to North America, it is much safer than a lot of jurisdictions. It's a very pleasant country to live in. It does rain a lot, though, unfortunately, so a little bit of sun would help a bit. Next slide, please. But Ireland has a long history of education dating way back to almost Roman times. There's a quite good quality of life in Ireland. It's a stable economy, a stable country. It prides itself in education and family. There's obviously easy access to the Gulf region. There's a lot of airline routes have opened up recently, courtesy of the fact that most airlines, I think, in the world are registered in Ireland at the moment. And there's an established relocation support structure in place amongst all the entities and all the associations and organizations that have spoken earlier. Next slide, please. There's a sporting tradition in Ireland. It varies from rugby to national sports, hurling, football, golf. We have international Olympian rowing. We have an extremely developed horse breeding industry, horse racing, and equestrian events are quite popular in Ireland. And it crosses all disciplines. You can be involved in several different sports. Next slide, please. And then from a business and development perspective, obviously there's a huge history. The Book of Kells is a book that was written in in Ireland, as well as the Book of Durrow, which was written next door to me here, where I live in the Midlands. Um, so we have a history of education, teaching, Nobel laureates. We have business people, uh, preeminent thought leaders in the world of business, including Michael O'Leary and the Collison twins. And also we have fantastic art and exposure to art, theatre, and literature in the country. Next slide, please. So not too dissimilar to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the sense that we are trying to digitalize our healthcare system here. So it's important that when fellows come in here, that they're exposed to everything, warts and all is the expression, and that they get to see patients on the floor, they interact actively with patients, they interact with surgeons, they interact with management, which is important because clinicians have to be part of management now to develop healthcare systems. And there's a huge push for digitalization. We indeed have our own national digital transformation in not too dissimilar to various initiatives that the Kingdom of Saudi have introduced, the Sahati app and IPSAR, which are agencies and conduits to get clinicians involved with management and involved with enterprise and involved with progressing and making medicine a lot simpler. Work smarter rather than harder would be the expression. So we have various digital mechanisms in place in Ireland, and fellows are fully exposed to that through working in our various institutions and hospitals. Next slide, please. So the Royal College of Surgeons and Ireland, RCPI, College of Anaesthesia, and ICGP, the General Practitioner Training Group, are heavily involved in education. It's a multicultural society. 41% of our doctors working in our national hospitals are non-nationals. And there's a huge pedigree of leadership in the country. And this is driven mainly through our business leaders, medical business leadership, etc. Next slide, please. So why the RCSI? Next slide. So again, we have an undergraduate and a postgraduate training program. So we do take undergraduates and we have experience dealing with the Gulf states and different cultures in the Royal College of Surgeons of Ireland. Our surgical platforms or our surgical training run across about 16 surgical sites nationally, not just in Dublin and the major cities. We have regional centres as well. And trainees are exposed to a variety of surgical techniques, procedures, and surgical specialties. There's a particular emphasis on human factors and an emphasis on surgical leadership, medical leadership within the college, and this is offered through various programs the college has. And fellows are expected to hit certain key um, human factor and leadership courses and educational standards before they exit the program, in that they do need it to fully certify themselves as surgical fellows of the Royal College of Surgeons. Next slide, please. All our posts are fully accredited. I note one of the previous speakers was talking about accreditation. All our fellows are slotted onto our regular higher surgical training programs. They've become part of the surgical training group. They're assessed, their metrics, their competency, etc., is assessed as it would be with our national trainees. They're subject to the same work plans, subject to the same stringent assessment of their work-based assessments and various metrics that we use for our national trainees. And they're registered on what's called the ISCP platform, which is an intercollegiate surgical curriculum program, which hits certain metrics. And this is held and basically run through all the four colleges associated with surgery, which are outlined on the right-hand side. Generally, fellows come, they work with a surgical team. They have what's known as an assigned educational supervisor. This is a consultant trainer who provides them as a lead point for their training. The fellows, slightly different to our national program in that the fellows will be allocated to a surgeon or a group of surgeons and they will track that surgeon. So there's almost a training contract put in place called a learning agreement early on in their fellowship program, which runs over 2 years. Excuse me, and they will honor that learning agreement. They will move with the training surgeon. So this is the first time, I suppose, in Ireland that we have moved between public and private sites. We've noted in Ireland since COVID that almost 60% of elective unscheduled surgery is done in the private sector, and as such, it's a lost training opportunity. So the fellows on the ISFP get access to these hospitals, access to these surgeons and those practices, and that extra 60% of surgeries that heretofore that we wouldn't have had access to. So we follow the intercollegiate surgical curriculum program. And then once finished, our fellows will get a certificate of completion of fellowship training. Next slide, please. So you go back there. So these are the various institutions, hospitals, and you can see there's a wide variety of hospitals involved, as indeed as mentioned before, our surgical training programs span many, many hospitals in Ireland. Next slide, please. Why RCSI? Why now? I suppose most of you attending the webinar would have completed your residency program in Saudi Arabia, would be Saudi board eligible and hopefully have passed your exam and become Saudi board certified. Some of you will be in your first or second year after is either an assistant consultant or a sub-consultant or a specialist registrar grade. And this is the time to be contemplating and seriously considering a fellowship abroad in surgery. Next slide, please. So tech and telemedicine and robotics are a huge part of what's coming. It's what's down the road basically in surgery, whether it be virtual, augmented reality, robotics, robotic assisted surgery. We provide all of this in our hospitals. Indeed, a lot of our consultants working in our hospitals were trained in robotics in the last 10 to 15 years in other institutions and have brought that technology, that know-how back to the Irish healthcare system. So I think we've moved beyond that now in the sense that the RCSI have an advanced robotic training system in place, is headed up by Barry Maguire in Vincent's Hospital. He works through the RCSI. We're hoping to get various robotic simulators in place, including hopefully a Da Vinci in the next 6 months, a Da Vinci training platform for our trainees. And our ISFP trainees will have full access to that. Next slide, please. We've, I think we have two buildings in the city centre in Dublin. The top three floors of our newly constructed academic centre is solely for the purpose of simulated training as well as human factors and healthcare leadership training. This part of a wider campus of our hospitals based and associated with the RCSI. Next slide, please. Surgical simulation, as mentioned before, runs from basic suturing. Our international surgical fellows are expected to hit certain criteria with regard to competencies, both surgically and both from a simulation perspective. They are also expected to teach, educate, and train and publish and involve themselves in research as our own national trainees do. We will hold them to the same standard. Next slide, please. Again, there's various virtual reality, augmented reality. Next slide. There might be a bit of a gory slide next. So, well, this is the robotic one. This is probably a little bit more advanced than your regular one. This is aspirational, but we are, as I mentioned, advancing our robotic simulation department and indeed have heavily invested in it in the last 2 to 3 years. Next slide, please. Human factors are important. Obviously, we deal with people. It's important that surgeons and doctors are good leaders, they're good directors, they're compassionate, and they use all their skills dealing with the various things and challenges that they have to deal with on a daily basis in hospitals. And this includes forming part of committees, heading up small, short life working groups, dealing with education, dealing with training, and all this has to be factored in. And so, as part of that, we've set up a leadership program within the college, which is basically any surgeon in the country can access, but we, more importantly, training our younger trainees, including our international surgical fellows. Next slide, please. Again, the team that works together should train together and should practice together. So we do simulations and these form part of the training curriculum. There's certain simulations that they have to do, a night on call, an emergency night on call, take, and various other certain key competencies that they need to achieve as part of the surgical fellowship program. Next slide, please. Simulated ward rounds gives an indication. There's a slight amount of bedding in has to occur. Obviously, English isn't your first language if you're coming from Saudi, and we do understand that. And it's important that the English language exam is passed, but obviously Ireland has a certain nuance, a certain culture, certain different accents, but I think you'll be able to manage it and navigate it. Next slide, please. Night on call, again, that just gives you an example. And there's consultant trainers involved. And Luke Phillips is the head of our education for the ISFP, and he looks into the educational format, the educational structuring, curriculum modifications, and the implementation, management, and assessments associated with that for the International Surgical Fellowship Program. Next slide, please. Our Future Surgeon Leader Program is part of that as well. It gives a certain modules. It's broken up into research methodology, healthcare management, surgical informatics, and this gives surgeons a better gist on management and how surgery is structured into basically encompassed into the part of an evolving healthcare system. Next slide, please. Of course, all this information is available through our website in the RCSI. This is the broad disciplines that we support. We have added, and we generally tend to be adding fellowship programs such as bariatrics, and bariatric robotics is a new angle. It's becoming very popular as a specialty, and indeed, I think there's been about 4 or 5 appointments in Ireland as consultants at this level, and all are international trained robotic bariatric surgeons. So, robotics does fit into an awful lot of the various surgical disciplines that you have there. Indeed, myself involved in trauma and orthopedics, and we're pushing towards robotic hip and knee replacements. And this probably will become the norm rather than the exception moving into the future. Next slide, please. So, as an example, this is Khalil Albatran, the gentleman on the far left. He is Saudi board certified orthopedic surgeon, came from Riyadh, worked with me for 2 years. An excellent, excellent surgeon, an excellent human, a great individual, a great team player, and will be a fantastic leader into the future. But the connections he made was that we would insist that he would present at least once a year at an international meeting, at least publish at least one paper, if not 2 papers per annum, achieve some sort of a leadership qualification, and travel at least once a year to an international meeting to meet international world leaders in orthopedics. And he met Professor Javed Parvizi and Thurston Gorick there. They would be the 2 most highest profile orthopedic surgeons on the planet currently. And he met with them, discussed at an adult academic level many issues associated with infection. On the right hand side are myself and Khalil, as well as Khalid Mergani, who are his trainers. So I would make connections, but I have expected a reciprocal relationship with Khalil when he returns to Saudi, that in a couple of years' time, when his practice is established, that he will take someone from my department and he will train them in Saudi. So the cross-pollination, reciprocation thing, that's the way education works. And I think that's the best way to do it into the future. So I'd like to thank you. That's thank you in English, obviously, in Arabic, I hope, and in Om, which is an ancient Irish language, because we're both from ancient civilizations that are trying to be and trying to push ourselves into the digital era. So thank you very much. I'll field any questions you may have. Thank you, Sinead.
Thank you, Prof. I couldn't agree more. Collaboration and cross-pollination is so important in education and training. So thank you for that. Excellent presentation. And I'm sure our attendees found it very valuable. And as I mentioned at the very beginning, we are recording these sessions, so we'll be able to circulate amongst all of the participants, and you'll get a chance to look at the recording again if there's some areas you want clarifications on. Okay, so we've reached the final session of the day, and the most important session, I think. We have some trainees and graduates giving their insights into what it's like training in Ireland and their experience. So first up, we have our graduate, Dr. Leili Al-Katani, who completed the International Clinical Fellowship Program in Adolescent Medicine. She's currently a consultant in adolescent medicine in the pediatric department at King Fahd Medical City in Saudi Arabia. So you're very welcome, Dr. Leila.
Thank you so much, Sinead. Can I just check if my voice is clear?
Yes, it is.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, I can say in Saudi Arabia. It's 1:38 now. Good morning to you all. Thank you very much for this invitation. I'm very thankful for the Saudi Embassy, the Saudi Cultural Bureau, the RCPI, and all the educational bodies that have helped make this journey amazing. Special thanks to Dr. Saja for inviting me here today. I have to confess that before starting my fellowship, I was a bit anxious. I did not have anyone around me who were involved with any fellowships or clinical training in Ireland. However, the tremendous support that I've seen from the beginning until my last day, until today, I'm still receiving emails with feedback and questions about how everything's going, made it so much easy. And this is not easy at all, especially when you're not just going alone, you're going with your family. So I came with my husband and my kids, and everything was perfect. I do remember my eldest daughter crying, not wanting to go back because she's gonna miss her school there in Dublin. So I'm very grateful for that. So just to note of one thing, I'm the first fellow in the adolescent medicine clinical fellowship. Now, so many would think that this is a maybe a challenge or a negative point. However, I saw it as an opportunity. It was a great opportunity, actually, to learn from, especially for me coming from Saudi Arabia, where there is still no clinical fellowship for adolescent medicine. So actually, me and my supervisors, we worked together. I learned from the mistakes, I learned from the weaknesses, from the strengths. I took all the process into consideration for future opening of the service here in Saudi Arabia, hopefully very. So I'm going to be, maybe it's better if I can answer specific thing you want me to address. I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you, Dr. Leila. Yes, I mean, I suppose it would be good for participants to really understand how, and for you to give some advice on how best to prepare when you're coming to Ireland and when you start in the hospital. What advice would you give them and the postgraduate training bodies in terms of preparation? Are there things that we could
Yes.
give information on as well?
So the support that I got even before landing in Ireland was great. It's very crucial and important for the future trainees to make sure that all your documents, your papers are ready for both sides, from the Saudi, the Ministry of Education, and for the educational body in whatever college you're going to in Ireland. So make sure all your papers are ready. Everything is to date. You don't have to do any, nothing is expired. Your passport, your visa, all to be, and your credentialing, everything has to be ready, especially with the medical council, to make sure that your things going smoothly with that. And to be honest, the Castel group were absolutely amazing with helping with this. They'll also always answer your questions. My advice is always ask, always reach for help, because if you don't, no one will know what are the areas you're not aware about. So it's very crucial to ask about what is the next step, what is expected from you to do from both sides. And that does not stop when you land in Ireland. Even when you land there, keep in touch with all bodies that have been that requested any actions from you. Do know that every new adventure comes with challenges, comes with uncertainties, anxiety, but there's always people around you to help. This webinar just shows you how much support you're having here. So I think it's a comforting part to say is that you will not feel as a stranger in Ireland. I have to say, Irish people are very similar to us. It was so easy to blend with people there. I'm not only talking about colleagues in the hospital, even outside in the streets, in the malls, and the cafes or restaurants. Very kind, very compassionate people. You'll find yourself very welcomed. Another crucial thing to do before you come, I would advise also to accommodation and daycare for if you have children, anyone who's young. I did go through there were crises of daycare in Dublin, so make sure that you secure something from early on. Castel are amazing in helping with that. The RCPI also can, if you needed any documents, support with that.
Mm.
It's very
Dr.
important to reach
Leila,
out for help. Yeah.
I saw a question earlier in the Q&A asking about the Irish accent and was it problematic?
No, actually, I worked in Dublin, and it was really easy to understand. Now, I didn't work outside of Dublin, but actually, no, it was really easy. And you'll be surprised because of how people would be understanding that you might have difficulties with some accents because of the major how Dublin is very multicultural. So people are expecting to see non-Irish people in the hospital. So that wouldn't be a very huge challenge. Like it's my daughter never complained of the accent, so I guess this is a good answer for you.
Very good, very good. Um, and finally, Dr. Leila, um, when you returned to Saudi, and you've obviously got an excellent position, and we're all very proud of our graduates and our alumni of our programs across all of our postgraduate training bodies. Um, but do you stay in contact with your colleagues and your trainers from Ireland in terms of that kind of joint research or education initiatives? And linking the hospitals together. Is that something you found has been easy to do, or
Absolutely. I've been blessed with an amazing group to work with, not only with the adolescent service, but with the pediatric departments overall. Now, I've worked in 4 hospitals. I didn't get a chance to see the new hospital or work in it. And so this just gives you an idea of how much exposure I had, not only patient-wise, but also from with physicians and colleagues. I am actually, I'm still, I'm happy to actually to announce that the research that I worked with my supervisors in adolescent medicine got accepted in one of the journals. We're just waiting for the publication. I'm still in contact with my supervisors until this day, who show great support, specifically, as I mentioned to you, that I'm in a process now of recruiting in my hospital. And in the future, hopefully, let's say 3, 4 years, we're going to have our own adolescent medicine fellowship. Now, I promise you, I won't be gatekeeping all the trainees, but yes, this is the long-term plan as well. So yes, connection is very important. To have connections, to have networks everywhere. This is one of my advice to all the trainees. Always meet people. Always go to conferences and networking. Networking, it's really important. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful, Dr. Leila. I think that echoes what Prof. Sheehan from Surgeons was talking.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So thank you for that. Okay, so I wish you well, and I look forward to seeing you again, inshallah, in Saudi. And please, God,
Thank
you'll
you
come
so
back
much.
to Ireland as well, and we'll see you there.
Will do. Thank you so much. I'm happy to for my email to be shared for anyone who's
Yes, thank
interested,
you.
and like questions in general about fellowships, but also specifically for adolescents
Yeah.
fellowship.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we're going to go back to Dr. Saja, who is a current trainee here in Ireland, and she is doing a fellowship in pediatric emergency medicine. You heard from her earlier with her involvement with the Society for Saudi Doctors. But Dr. Saja, you might just share some of your tips and insights about coming and training currently in Ireland.
So actually, thank you for giving me this opportunity. The good thing that I think I will share the same insight of Layla. Like when I came at the beginning, I was anxious, but now I just spend a year and I love it so far. So yeah, it's really a great year from like networking, meeting like a lot of people. It's not only in the hospital, like Layla mentioned, is everywhere. Like you can, even my neighbor, even everywhere, you can meet a lot of people, a lot of kind people. Regarding the tips for them is the preparations. Preparation is the most important thing. And be more flexible for anything. So you don't assume that it will be like only a one line. It will be like one day, maybe you will find something, you need to fix everything. Just be more flexible for any changes. I think this is the thing that it will help anyone to be like succeed any like any problem, anything that he will face in his life, any feeling sometimes. So be more flexible with and just try to involve with anything that and when you come to Ireland. So the fellowship is only 2 years. So try as much as you can to be involved in anything, even the social things, even like a small networking, even like a small procedures or anything. It will help a lot. Like I think the connection is the most important thing. Apart from that, I'm actually welcoming everyone. I'm here to help. Layla is here. There's a lot of doctors. We have like a lot of doctors. They are happy, even they share their like amazing experience during doing the fellowship. We did like what we call like the Irish chapter, like YouTube thing, and we met a lot of graduates from like surgeries, from like plastic surgeries, RCPI, and they're happy about what they achieve up to far.
Wonderful. And Dr. Saja, can I ask you, what was the biggest difference you found when you joined the hospital compared to your hospital in Saudi?
The main thing, and I think sometimes it's a challenge, is the different system. the different systems. So we used to be trained on like what we call like the US and Canadian way. So the European way is different, but I think this is like a strength thing. It sometimes give you like opportunity to think out of the box. So like if we are built here, we came here to be like to take a fellowship to like, you know, improve our skill. So if you have the European way and the American way, so even like when you read, you will compare everything. Like let's assume like simple things sometimes the limper puncture. Like when I came here, we were not doing it. They do it here, and they have a client, and the American have a client. But then after that, it's like even these things, it's open for you a lot to do a lot of research. Because you will continue to compare, you will continue to make sure that everything is okay. And the one of the things that I love it here and compared to Saudi is the patient-centered care. I think it's like amazing here. We're just focusing on patient more than focusing on any other things.
Okay.
Different healthcare system, but believe me, you can adapt to it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saja. We really appreciate that. And as we mentioned earlier, anyone who's coming to Ireland this coming year should get in contact with you directly around the society and any activities that you're planning, because I think that is a very useful way to just integrate and get to know people, and questions about supermarkets or taxis or it's the best place to get your answers. Yeah.
We love rain, like Saudi people love rain. Don't worry.
Very good. Well, again, you're happy for us to share your email, so thank you, and we will share that with everybody. So if there are some direct queries, finally, we have an RCSI trainee. She's currently undertaking a fellowship program in general surgery, bariatric surgery. And she's based at St. Vincent's Hospital, working under the supervision of Prof. Helen Heenan. Her name is Dr. Huda Al-Mubouk. Dr. Huda, you're very, very welcome. I know you're just out of surgery, so well done, because we are ahead of schedule. So we do appreciate that you probably had to rush. So thank you, and really appreciate you being here today. And you're going to share some slides now, so thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for this opportunity. So can I share my slide, or Anthony will share them for me? I think
Anton is sharing them for you, Dr. Huda. So you just tell him, can you see the screen okay?
Yeah, I can see the screen. Thank you. So like you mentioned, I'm a Saudi surgical fellow training in Ireland through the RCSI program. And today I wanted to share my personal experience, not only about the training, but about the full journey of moving here, settling, and building a life here. If you can move the slide, thank you. Before coming to Ireland, I know I was moving to a new country, completely new healthcare system. And along with that, I was also stepping into a very different environment and lifestyle. And my training actually started in January, right in the middle of the winter, which added another layer of challenge for the transition. And like anyone starting somewhere new, I had many questions before arriving. Next slide, please. But even before I arrived, the RCSI team was in continuous communication with me. They shared with me exactly what document I would be needing at the airport and what immigration officer might ask for. So I had all my paperwork with me before traveling, which made the airport experience very, very smooth. And after a long journey, walking outside the airport and find a large taxi waiting for me with my name in a sign was very reassuring as well. And I was taken directly to my accommodation, and it made my arrival feel calm and very well organized. Next slide, please. And before arriving, the RCSI as well facilitated my communication with the hospital HR. So the HR from my hospital were in continuous contact with me, and I shared with them all the documents needed for me to start working in the hospital. and I completed them all, submitted them all in advance. And even the vaccination required for me to be able to get into theater was also shared with me, and I completed all the vaccination back in Saudi before coming here. And by the time I arrived, everything was already organized and clear, which made the whole transition very, very smooth. And one of the biggest challenge when moving to a new country is finding accommodation. And the RCSI team supported me with this as well. So they advised me an area close to my hospital and where to start looking for an apartment. And when I found an apartment, I didn't yet have an Irish phone number, so it was a little bit difficult for me to contact the landlord. So I contacted the RCSI, and they did that for me as well. And because of this support, I was able to secure my accommodation before arriving to Ireland. Next slide, please. So during the first 1 to 2 weeks, the work environment was very supportive. The team understood that I was just moving to a new country, still settling in. They know this period is usually very busy with things like transportation, housing, and basic arrangement. They were very flexible at the beginning, and this made transition very easier as well. Next slide, please. And one of the most reassuring things for me was the Saudi doctor and fellow community here in Ireland. There are more than 200 Saudi doctors in one WhatsApp group, including current fellow in Ireland and previous fellow. Everyone shared their experience, support new arrival. If you have any question about anything, work, accommodation, daily life, you get an answer very quickly. This community made a huge difference, especially at the beginning. Yes. And during the RCSI induction day, I think the main aim of this day is to get the new fellow to meet and to know each other. That day really helped us connect. Yes. So at the beginning, we were just 2, then we were 3, then 4. And before we know it, the group kept growing naturally. This made a big difference, especially for those of us who arrived early and started alone, like myself. Yes. Next slide. And as the group grew, we started exploring Ireland together, beaches, walks, cafe, and restaurant. Over time, I found myself giving tips to my Irish colleague about good food and good places to go. This moment made me realize how comfortable and integrated I felt. Training is important, but having a social life makes the whole experience much more enjoyable. And working with Irish colleagues has been very positive experience as well. They are very welcoming, supportive, very respectful of different culture. What I really appreciate is that we are celebrating moment together at work, birthday, small gathering, such as like pizza and sweet. And one of my favorite moments was celebrating the new release of Taylor Swift album. And it really showed how relaxed and inclusive the environment is. These moments made me feel included and comfortable, not just as a fellow, but as a part of the team. Yes. The training program is very well structured. The role of the international fellow is clearly understood within the team. RCSI also provided fellowship-related courses and educational activity, which are very useful. In addition, they are very supportive if you wish to attend courses outside RCSI. For example, I just had one course in Dundee, Scotland for 1 week, which was very beneficial. I discussed with the RCSI beforehand. They were very supportive for me attending. Overall, it feels like a complete program that supports both clinical and educational development. Yes. And one important point I want to mention that if you ever face any challenges during your training, the RCSI, you can always reach to the RCSI. They are very approachable and open to arrange meeting, whether online or in person, provide support, help resolve any issue. And we also have our regular 6-month meeting to review the training process, logbook, and operative exposure. These meetings are very helpful for reflection and raising any concern. In addition, there is a lot of understanding and respect for our religious holidays, such as Ramadan and Eid, and the team as well are very supportive during this time. And finally, my most important advice is to bring a good raincoat. Umbrella are not well trusted in Ireland. It is very windy and it's always raining. And on a more serious note, Ireland has been very welcoming a place for me for both training and living. And my experience was far better than I expected. And I'm sure that your experience will be as well. Thank you.
Excellent. Great.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Dr.
very much.
Yeah, I'll hand over to Cecily. Thank you. Yeah.
I'd like to thank all three of you, Dr. Huda, Dr. Leila, and Dr. Saja, for your wonderful insights into your experience in Ireland. Some of our trainees in histopathology actually got to like the weather here, believe it or not, and missed it when they went back home to the warm climates. But thank you very much. We have a lot of questions still we've answered a lot of questions, over 100 questions in the Q&A session. We still have quite a few questions. Now, some of them are very specific to individual specialties. And I note that Sinead Freeman has directed some of the candidates to the website, which hopefully will provide more clear information. I think I would say to everybody who's online, if you do have very specific questions regarding specific specialties, please feel free to email us and we will direct your question to the appropriate clinical lead for further information if we're not able to provide it today. Is that okay with you, Sinead?
Yes, I think there are a number of questions that we will need to clarify. Both the Ministry of Health and then our own clinicians. So we will endeavour to do that. Each postgraduate training body will do that and revert back. But the website, as you mentioned, does provide a rich amount of information and links directly. But please email us directly as well if you need to. But we'll continue to answer the questions once the webinar finishes as well.
There are a few here, Sinead, that we may be able to answer. For example, if you're an Irish medical school graduate, if you've come from the Gulf and done your medical training in Ireland, do you need to repeat the English language test? For example, this potential candidate has a score from 2017 before entering med school in Ireland. So what is the situation regarding that? Do they need to repeat?
Yeah, I think there is a time limit. Yasmin, Kenny, can I ask you to maybe respond to that?
Yeah, no problem at all. So just is this, sorry, I was just trying to listen to the question there. Did this candidate complete their undergraduate medical degree in Ireland?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And they have the IELTS score from then, but they're wondering, do they need to, presumably they entered in 2017, they did the English language then did medical school training. So do they need to repeat?
So for any candidate who completed their undergraduate degree in Ireland, say in Trinity or in RCSI or any of the undergrad colleges in Ireland, those candidates are actually exempt from any English language certification. So it's very simple. And the OET or IELTS requirement only applies to candidates who have completed their undergraduate degree in one of the Gulf countries. So anyone who completed their degree in Ireland is exempt from any OET or IELTS certification.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Yasmin. While you're online there, Yasmin, we also have a question, and we've had a few questions about radiology residency programs. Clearly, radiology is under the auspices of RCSI. I'm not aware of a radiology residency program international. Have you any further information on that?
No, and radiology, whilst it does come under the RCSI umbrella, they are actually a separate entity to ourselves. So I'm
Yeah.
afraid I don't have any further information to hand on that either.
Yeah, I don't think there is. It does if it's answered live, done. Okay, thank you very much. Prof. Owen, are you still with us? I don't
Yeah,
know. You
I am,
are,
yeah.
yes. There's a question here. Kindly, is there any robotic training simulation or training centre, for example, in Cork, outside Dublin? So do you have any robotic training outside of Dublin?
So there is a center in UCC. I think it's called the Fire Lab. They do cadaveric. They do cadaveric stuff. They do bring in simulators. I do know that. And some of the RCSI courses, some of the ISFP courses are going to be done in the UCC center next year, I think. The main simulation stuff is still in RCSI, but UCG have one as well, as do UL. So I think all the universities have one at some stage now, or will have one in the next year or two for some form of even basic. All the universities have basic simulation, just augmented reality and moving into robotics, Da Vinci systems, etc. So that's the kind of plan. So they probably all will have one in the next year, or certainly have access to it. I don't think, obviously, when you bring these simulators in, some of them, like the Da Vinci simulator, is an extremely expensive piece of equipment. I think it costs €1 million to bring it in. So it's been brought in just for education and training. So obviously there'll be, a huge amount of interest, a bit like, a new DVD or a new Taylor Swift album. There'll be a huge amount of interest and everyone wants a go at it at the start. But I think we'll equitably split it amongst the people who actually need to do it, and the people who generally need to do it would be the fellows and the senior SPRs. Everyone else really can wait. And whilst we get it up and running. So there is the answer, yes.
That's great. Thank you very much for that, Owen. There's another question here. Somebody's finishing their training in October of 2027, and then they're wondering when they can apply for a program not specified. So I guess the earliest they can start is 2028 or on completion of internship. Sinead, are you there? Yeah, they would not be eligible until at least 2028. I think that's...
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, fine. Okay, thank you for that. Maybe back to Yasmin, if you're still with us, Yasmin, just what are considered the most important elements to apply for the plastic surgery training in Ireland? Are there any exams that could help to be a more desirable candidate? We've had a few queries about plastic surgery opportunities, so if you have some insight into that, it would be great, please.
So I guess I probably may not be the best qualified to answer the kind of the academic side of that. So my role is very much in the sort of the soft supports and the pre-arrival. So in terms of how best to prepare for a plastic surgery fellowship with us, I think if that candidate was to send us an email, we could direct that to the relevant people within our team to answer that.
Okay, thank you, Yasmin. I think that applies to a number of queries. We also have had several queries about reproductive endocrinology and infertility subspecialty fellowship training. So again, I think if interested candidates direct that question to us, we can answer perhaps in consultation with our OBGYN colleagues and also with the college. So I don't think we can really answer that right away. And we still have a number of questions about the Safira portal, which again, I think need to be directed to the Ministry of Education in Saudi. Other than that, I think
there was a question that came in for just asking for the list of Pres 2 exemptions. So I've posted an IMC link, the Irish Medical Council link that lists the exemptions. Okay.
Okay, thank you. And then there are also a number of questions about specific assessments and specific examinations in various specialties. I think there will always be an annual assessment and there'll also be informal meetings with your trainer, but whether or not there is an examination is very much specialty dependent, and this is going to differ across the board. And again, better to consult the website, or if you've got a further question that's not answered on the website, perhaps email us and we'll try to clarify your specific queries. There's another question here about family medicine fellowship, and I think Tamsha has answered that in her in her talk.
Mhm.
Also, oh yeah, somebody wants to know about medical insurance if they're going to give birth during their fellowship. Any insight into that? I don't know how that works in Ireland, whether medical insurance is not automatically provided to fellows. They would have to apply for that separately.
Correct. Yeah.
I don't think we can really give any further insight into that. Also, queries about gastroenterology. Again, that information should be available on the website. Similarly, genetics, and again, the gynae questions. So I think other nice questions. Thank you for the webinar. It's been an informative session, so that's helpful. I think really we've probably answered, unless you see any others, Sinead, you'd like to address.
Yeah, I mean, just on the specialties, if for the RCPI specialties, if you go into our website, it actually has the details of the curriculum as well. So you'll see the curriculum associated with most of the specialties, not all of them, but especially ones like gastroenterology or cardiology. All of the curriculum and the training programs are set out on the website, so it should answer most of your questions. But again, you can contact us directly, and we will clear all of these queries and make sure that everyone has some response.
I see you, Anna. Would you like to make any comment, Anna, about anything really with regard to the programme?
No, firstly, just to say that it has been a very informative programme, so thanks to all the speakers. I think to reassure people that support is available, both pre-arrival and also during the programme. So, you're not alone. It's very important that there is a bedding in time. You do get support for the first number of weeks. I think one of the trainees mentioned that there is support available. So you just need to reach out. And as another speaker said, social life is very important also. So it's nice to see that the SADI doctors have come together and are providing support, both pre-arrival and also on arrival, and then post-departure. Thank you, Cecily.
Excellent. Thank you, Anna. So I think really at this point, I think I personally would like to thank all of the speakers and all of the participants. It's been an excellent session and we look forward to the next one. And I'm going to hand you back now to Sinead to close out the session. Thank you all very much.
Sorry, apologies. Thanks, Professor Quinn. So really, nothing really from me except to say a sincere thanks to participants, to speakers, to the Ministry for Education for supporting us in pulling this webinar together. We do hope to run a few more in the coming year with our colleagues in the other postgraduate training bodies. So on behalf of us all, have a lovely day and have a lovely weekend. I know it's weekend already in Saudi, so enjoy it, and we'll hope to see you in Ireland very soon.